Welcome everyone to Meditation and Mindfulness Class number 2. We will start this week again with a relaxation meditation. This is a great way to let go of the day, get present, get settled in our bodies. So find a nice comfortable seat. You can be sitting on the ground, cross-legged on a pillow or a cushion or in a chair, any way that's comfortable for you. The important thing is to be comfortable so that your body is not distracting you. And it's also important to sit with a straight spine because the spine parallels the Sushumna, the main energy channel in the body. And so when we sit with a straight spine, it facilitates the movement of energy up the Sushumna, from the lower chakras up to the higher chakras. So that's why it's important to sit with a straight spine. Plus it just helps you stay alert and awake while meditating. And it's generally good for posture. So find a nice, comfortable seat and take a deep, nourishing inhalation. And as you exhale, imagine this wave of relaxation washing down your entire body, starting at the top of the head. Relax the forehead, relax the eyes, relax the jaw, relax the neck, and the shoulders, and the chest, and the hips, and the legs, and the feet. So continue doing this while we sit, inhaling deep, cleansing, purifying breaths, and exhaling this wave of relaxation that washes away all stress, all worries, all craziness that you had to deal with today. Just let it all wash down out of your body and into the earth. So if you'd like to use music, go ahead and hit play now, and we'll all come back together in a few minutes. So start bringing awareness back into your body. Take a nice deep inhale. And exhale. So I forgot to mention last time, a nice way to end a meditation is with a little bow, just to give gratitude for the opportunity to sit and meditate. So it's totally optional, but that's how I like to end the meditation. Great. Okay, so I thought we'd start off this week by having a little discussion about how the last 2 weeks went for everyone in setting up your new meditation practice. So this is a judgment-free zone. There are no wrong answers. There's no one's going to be disappointed. You're not going to get in trouble or anything. But I'd like to hear how it went. Were there any challenges you noticed? Any things that worked well? Did you notice any effects, or do you have any questions about anything? So let's just open us up for a little discussion. And I think I muted everyone, so you'll need to unmute before you talk. Oh yeah, anyone have anything they want to share? Like I said, there's no wrong answers.
I can share. I did a little bit more on the meditation, focusing on the heart. And yeah, I could definitely feel a different sensation. I'm like, because I'm used to meditating by just concentrating, and on the third eye. And so concentrating on the heart is different, and I can definitely, I'm getting in touch more with my emotions that come up. And so as opposed to when I look at the heart, at the third eye chakra, it's more, like focusing on the thoughts, and seeing the thoughts go by, whereas the heart was different for me. I just felt a lot of emotions come up.
Sure. Yeah, and that's perfectly normal. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about meditating on the heart chakra is it can help you get in touch with your emotions.
Mhm.
Great. So anyone else have anything they want to share? Any questions? I mean, last week was rough because it was Thanksgiving and the holidays can always be a challenge if you're trying to start something new because there's lots of disruptions to the normal routine and things like that. So um, totally understandable if that was an added challenge.
Well, I missed 2 weeks ago. And I just watched the video of it the other day. But I liked both of them. I think I agreed with the group that the third eye was easier than the heart chakra to meditate through.
Mhm.
But I really enjoyed them both, and I was able to really drop in both times. And I haven't practiced those exact meditations since then. Well, it was just the other day I saw the video, but I'm doing a lot of stuff at home with my old teachers, so
Oh,
it's
cool.
all been good. Yeah, I've been practicing and sitting almost every day, so it's all been good.
Cool.
But I really liked the video of last week, or 2 weeks ago. That was great.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll go. I missed the live last on your first episode, but it was great to watch it. And I've been sitting every day, and it's amazing how much faster I can drop in just that incremental bit. Like I can drop in that much quicker with the consistency. And so I feel like I'm getting the payoff of that, if there's such a thing as meditation payoff.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I mean, like a lot of things with consistency, it becomes easier. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
So I am with Hugo. I feel that the heart meditation is much easier for me. It just helps me I just drop in a lot quicker. It sort of gets me out of my head easier somehow. And for me, I have found that meditating in the morning before I get up is really good, because once I'm up and start I just, it's really hard to find the time once you're up, moving and doing things. And so I've been really trying to stay in bed and sit in bed and just kind of make this place where I can drop in easier. So that's been helpful for me.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's really helpful to make it the first thing you do when you get up in the morning before the day takes you away, before you get caught up in everything that you have to do throughout the day, because we're all super busy. There's a ton of things pulling on our attention all the time. And so, yeah, it's really, I find it very beneficial to meditate first thing in the morning. Okay, great. So there's one topic I wanted to talk about, and that's when I said this is a judgment-free zone. I think that's a really important attitude to keep when you're talking about spirituality and things like that. We live in our society with a lot of regret and guilt built into everything. So it's really easy to be hard on ourselves if we think we're not doing enough, right? So that's really counterproductive in meditation or spirituality, to feel guilt or regret or shame about not meditating enough or not meditating well enough while you're sitting. And so I wanted to just encourage everyone to let go of any notions of guilt or regret about your spiritual path. That was one thing I struggled with a lot when I was studying with my teacher. I would often get wrapped up in all these ideas in my head of how I should be doing more, I should be more mindful or more spiritual, or I should be less selfish or less lazy. And so it's really easy to get wrapped up in these mental patterns that create a lot of unnecessary noise and just distract us from the point of a spiritual path or meditative practice, and that's to get more quiet. And so guilt and regret are really they oppose spiritual growth. But it's an easy kind of mental trap to get caught in. So I just want to encourage people to let go of any ideas of shame or regret, because we're all exactly where we need to be in this moment. There are no wrong choices in life, right? There's only choices and consequences. And sometimes we don't like those consequences, and maybe we'd like to make different choices in the future. But I want to encourage everyone to let go of moral ideas of right and wrong choices, because that just leads to lots of unproductive mental patterns and guilt that don't help you grow. So it might be helpful to think about that we always make the best decision possible for us in any given moment, based on our life experiences or everything that we've gone through in life. So in any given moment, when we're faced with any given choice, we always make the best choice possible for us in that moment. And that's where we are at that time in our life. So there's really no wrong and no right choices. We're always doing the best that we can. Now, sometimes we'd like to make different choices because we've made a certain choice many times, and it leads to consequences that are not pleasant for us. So you can always think about trying to make different choices in the future moving forward, but there's no right or wrong about it. There's nothing to beat yourself up about if you make a choice that leads to unpleasant consequences. It's okay. That's where you are in your life. That's where you are in your growth, in your spiritual development. So so that's just one topic I wanted to cover, because it's very easy, I think, with matters of spirituality to fall in these guilt and regret and shame spirals. So just want to, from the start, encourage everyone to let go of any ideas of that. We're all exactly where we need to be right now. So any questions about that? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and move into another meditation. Let's try again the meditating on the third eye. So I recently just heard the third eye chakra referred to as the unicorn horn, which I thought was hilarious and awesome. And it gave me a good idea. So this time, while we're sitting, we're going to meditate again on the third eye. So this is the Ajna chakra, present right in the middle of your forehead. And so we're going to bring our attention to it and meditate on this chakra. Maybe I should back up and say that one of the reasons to meditate on a particular chakra is to try to draw more energy into that chakra and kind of activate it. And so, as I mentioned last time, when we meditate on the third eye, when we start to activate the third eye, when we bring more attention to the third eye, we're able to see things more clearly in life. We're able to intuit things better and kind of see reality as it really is, and see that we're much more than these limited little consciousnesses trapped in a body. So that's why I like meditating on the third eye and also on the heart, because it's good to have a balance of both of them, because when we activate the third eye also, it just helps us see things in life more clearly. So for this meditation, imagine that growing out of your third eye in your forehead is this glorious, spectacular, magical unicorn horn. And so while we're sitting, let's imagine that we're breathing in. Awesome, Carla. That's perfect. Exactly. That's what we're going for. So while we're meditation, just let's imagine that we're inhaling and absorbing light from the universe, from all around us. So we're just gonna inhale all this light into our bodies. And then as we exhale, imagine we're radiating that light out through this spectacular unicorn horn out into the world. Because the world needs more light right now. So this is one way that we can all bring more light into the world, by absorbing all the light that's around us all the time as we inhale, and then as we exhale, we'll just radiate that light back out into the world. Okay, so if you'd like to use music, get your music ready. We'll all hit play at the same time. And so settle into your seat, get comfortable, find a nice relaxed seat, the straight spine. And okay, so remember on this, so we're going to inhale light from all around us and exhale that light into the world. Go ahead and hit play now. We'll all come back in about 5 minutes. Gently bring your awareness back to your body. Okay. Does anyone want to share anything about that meditation? And I muted everyone, so you'll need to unmute yourself again. Any thoughts? Those of you who didn't like the third eye so much before, was that visualization any more encouraging?
Yeah, for me, it helped. Plus, the music really helped facilitate the growth of my unicorn horn. So.
Cool. Great, great.
As each exhale, I felt like I was getting bigger.
Yeah, that's a common sensation, actually, when meditating. Yeah, that's not unusual. Mm-hmm.
I just sort of imagined it like a big light, so, and, shining that light out as we all do. So that was kind of neat.
Great, yeah. Yeah. Anyone else want to share anything? Okay, cool. Great. So there's another topic I would like to talk about tonight, and that's about the idea of self-inquiry or self-investigation. Now, this is a very useful tool when you're on a spiritual path or for just any kind of personal growth or evolution at all. I'm sure you've all heard that phrase of know thyself, how important it is to know thyself. And one reason it's important to know that is because it helps us understand ourselves. It helps us understand why we make the choices that we do in life. It helps us understand why we react the way we do to certain situations. And so it can be really useful to start examining yourself and your mind and watching and noticing how you react to certain situations or external circumstances. And one feeling that where this is very useful is the idea of feeling dissatisfied in life. So I think for me personally, I often feel a little bit dissatisfied in life. It often seems like things could be just a little bit better, right? It always seems like there's something that could make things better. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that. This is actually a central concept in the teachings of Buddhism and other Eastern philosophies. This idea of it's the Sanskrit word often used is dukkha, and that's usually translated as suffering. So you've probably heard, if you've heard anything about Buddhism, you've heard that saying that existence is suffering, right? Well, suffering can sound a little bit extreme, and another translation of this word dukkha is just dissatisfaction. I think so that might be a little bit easier for some of us to relate to, because I think I know all of you pretty well, and I think most of us aren't really suffering in the sense of we're not struggling, we're not wondering where our next meal is coming from, we're not living in a refugee camp in Syria or anything like that. So I think sometimes people can be off-put by this idea of existence as suffering, because it may not exactly feel like we're suffering all the time, but I think a lot of us can relate to feeling dissatisfied in life. And that's really the same idea that's central in these teachings. And so, like I said, I often feel dissatisfied. It often seems like there ought to be something out there that's going to make things better, right? Something that's going to make me happier, make me feel more complete. And so I've started to wonder, is there really anything out there that's going to make me feel fully satisfied all the time, right? And if you listen to Buddhism and also listen to modern psychology, the answer to that question is no, that we're often, we rarely ever feel completely satisfied in life. And there's a reason for that. And it's because some of the findings that are coming out of modern evolutionary psychology is that our brains are hardwired to be dissatisfied. There's a really interesting book that I've read a couple times now called Why Buddhism is True by Robert Wright. And in this book, he looks at the tenets and the teachings of Buddhism through the lens of evolutionary psychology. And that just means looking at these teachings in terms of how our brains developed over time and how our brains developed all these different programs and hardwired routines within them. And a lot of these findings from psychology are agreeing with the teachings in Buddhism that have been talked about for thousands of years. And so one of these central ideas of this book is that our brains are programmed by natural selection to never feel fully satisfied for very long. And that's because back when our brains were evolving, our ancestors were living in small hunter-gatherer tribes on the desert, just barely scraping by with enough food and resources to survive and reproduce. So it was a very different time than now. I mean, existence, just surviving was a struggle back then when our modern brains were evolving. And so back then, those ancestors of us, those cavemen and cavewomen, those cave people running around, the ones who were driven to gather the most resources and also have the most sex, those are the ones who had the most offspring and then passed on their genes and that drive to gather stuff to the next generation. And so that's essentially how natural selection works, that those people, those ancestors, those early ancestors of us, those cave people who had the most offspring passed on their genes the most to the next generation. And so in addition to this drive to gather lots of stuff, gather lots of resources, gather lots of food, and have lots of sex with mates, those are things that made our ancestors more successful and pass on more of their genes. But along with that was this tendency to not feel satisfied for very long once you acquired something. So let's think about it in terms of an example. So say you have caveman A over here. And this caveman A, he kills a deer and he has sex with his mate. And then he's satisfied for the next week. The whole next week, he's just basking in the glow of that tasty deer and that hot sex with his mate. And so he's just, chilling the whole rest of the week. So now imagine another caveman B over here. So same story. He kills a deer and has sex with his mate, but he's only satisfied for one day. So the next day, he's out there hunting for more food and chasing after more women. So I'm sure you can see how caveman B over time is going to have a lot more children, can have a lot more offspring, and pass on his genes, these genes that make him feel not satisfied very long. So he's going to pass on that tendency to his offspring. And so over time, you can imagine that pretty soon all the cavemen are these horny, hungry fiends running around, killing all animals in sight, trying to screw every female they see. And so that kind of sounds like the world we live in now in some ways, doesn't it? So this is how, for me, this idea was really fascinating, that our brains are hardwired, are programmed to not feel satisfied when we get stuff. So we're programmed to want lots of stuff and then not feel satisfied when we get it. And so, to me, this was really kind of eye-opening. Like, it explains so much about myself. And so it really helps me understand myself and also kind of be a little less hard on myself, because we're dealing with these innate programs that are hardwired into our brains that make us feel dissatisfied all the time. And so I feel like, I hope you guys are as interested in this as me, because for me, this has kind of really helped me understand myself and be better to understand that when I'm feeling dissatisfied, that it's not really me. It's just a pattern that my brain is playing out, right? It's a program that my brain is stuck in and just goes through over and over again. And so seeing and understanding that it's just this pattern in my brain helps me and can help all of us have a little distance from that feeling, and generate some or cultivate some detachment from that feeling. So whenever you're feeling dissatisfied or feeling like you need something or craving something, it can help to realize that you don't actually want something or need something. It's just this is a pattern that is programmed into your brain to play out over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Is that useful to anyone else
Mm-hmm.
to think about that?
Yeah, I think it's part of our survival system too, to always be looking for the next thing.
Exactly.
You know, like you say, as a species, in order to stay on top, we've had to, be looking for the next best thing. It's the restlessness, that keeps us going almost. So.
Right. Yeah. And that
Mhm.
was necessary for us to survive hundreds of
Mhm.
years ago, or even thousands of years ago. But right now, it's
Mhm.
not necessary anymore. And in fact, it's quite counterproductive because it
Mhm.
want to go out and buy stuff that we don't need and generate more
Mhm.
waste and pollution. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
I try to think of it as I'm trying to go the opposite way of giving stuff away now. That's my desire to give. You have less.
Mhm.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah.
Well, another thing, if I don't want to monopolize, but since I've been home, I'm taking this class on the niyamas with one of my yoga teachers here in town. And the last 2 weeks, we've just done the first couple. Last week was the Santosha with the contentment, and it's addressing that exactly.
Yeah.
And the week before that was the clarity, the Saucha. So it's been really interesting because the first step to feeling the lack of discontent to feeling contentment is the clarity. And so like you're saying, when you notice that you're doing it or you're having those feelings, and then the next step with the Santosha is to try to stay in the middle, and to try to seek contentment within the discontent. So we've been doing a lot of reading about that and a lot of practicing, and it's been super easy to be content when like everything's good and it's all fine, and you're outside having a nice walk or doing whatever, having a nice meal, and you're like, this is great, I don't have any trouble with this. But then when you're in a situation, even like during a yoga class, when you're uncomfortable, or meditation and your knees are hurting, to cultivate that clarity, and then to sit with it, and to sit with the discontent and try to be content with the discontent. So that's kind of what I've been working with at home these last couple of weeks. Anyway, it's cool that you say that now, because that fits in exactly what I've been working on.
Cool. Awesome.
So just a little oversharing there.
Yeah. I mean, this idea is common to a lot of different philosophies and teachings and religions. Yeah, it's one like you said, one of the 8 limbs of yoga, the idea of santosha, trying to cultivate this with what we have. And it's a struggle because we're programmed to be discontented all the time.
Yeah, so I think, like I say, the first step is the clarity, realize it's happening, and then the second step is just that breath, to come back and tell yourself it's all okay.
Yeah,
Wherever
because
you
I
are.
mean, it is if you get really good at it, then you're never satisfied. And so you get really good at getting and getting and getting and getting. And the more you get, the more you want. And you get
I mean, there's
really, really, really good at it, right? And it's an endless cycle. And then until, and I think until the wheels come off, really. Um, and then, but and then the meditation, you start seeing these desires that that pop up, and these things that we continually want to grab onto and seek for, for almost like pacifying us for a little bit. And in the mind, we keep trying to pacify ourselves with gathering these things almost in a way to avoid really sitting with ourselves and almost like accepting ourselves and accepting who we are. It's like we can't be alone, it seems like, with our thoughts. We can't be alone with ourselves. We have to have these distractions of continuing to try to grab and to get more, to give us this high, right? And continuing. And so it's like this addiction to external things. But like, with the meditation, we start seeing that these desires pop up, and that, and then that's kind of the first phase of just going like, oh wow, I'm just like, I'm full of desire, and then, and I'm talking in circles here, but it's a really hard concept for me to grab, in that it's ultimately I'm trying to avoid sitting with myself, and I haven't been alone in 2 months. And then finally I got here yesterday to this place. I got settled in. I set up my my meditation station, which is right in front of me. You can't see it. I'll show it to you in a little bit.
Nice.
Can you see it?
Yes.
cool.
Okay, but the scary thing though, that popped into my head starting yesterday was like, oh, I'm gonna be alone, and I'm gonna be alone with my thoughts,
Right.
and and sometimes that's really frightening, and so my desire is like, oh shit, well, maybe I need to buy a new car, or maybe I need, I'm looking for an escape, just so I don't have to sit with my thoughts.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I'm going through right now. It's just interesting being alone, and it's just not just being physically alone, but then going into meditation and being alone and not being distracted. I think it's a continuation of that. So I don't know. Just thought I'd share that. That's what I've been thinking about.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. Yeah, and it's also it's kind of built into what's what we learn from our culture, that we live in this consumerist culture where buying things is how you make yourself happy, right? I mean, we're kind of indoctrinated with that from an early age, that the key to happiness is buying lots of stuff. But then I'm sure you've probably all noticed it's really exciting when you get something new, but then that excitement fades really fast. And that's because and that's because our brains are programmed to not feel satisfied for very long.
Well, remember when we studied the kleshas? That's like the third and the fourth one, right? That would be the third one. I don't remember the name of it, but it was about addiction. And remember, Nick was saying about how he had a million examples, and then Amanda was like, well, I one time had the one with the ice cream, and then it just made me want more. And that, remember, that was such a sweet thing she talked about. And then we know Nick's been through, a lot of stuff and suffered his own addictions and things. And but his point being that it's a fleeting moment, and then it causes greater suffering when you want it again. So you get it, you feel good for a minute, and then you want it again, and it's this roller coaster of this. Wanting it and then feeling crappy, and then wanting it and feeling good, and then feeling crappy about it, so
Yeah.
But like you're saying, Matt, that's how we're wired. So how do we get around it?
Well, that's an excellent segue, because meditation is one way to get around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but like it's hardwired into our brains. And so like you said, the first step is just noticing that, like having the clarity to see that this pattern in my brain over and over again. And with time, once we start noticing that, we're able to kind of step back from it and not be dragged along as much by that program, by that tendency in our brain. Great. And so and a great way to feel contentment, to feel satisfied, is by meditating, especially meditating on the heart. I think it's a great way to just bring more love into your life and bring contentment and bring satisfaction into your life directly, without getting it through some external factor or some new thing or some new experience. So let's go ahead and set up for that right now. Another heart meditation. So if you'd like to use music, let's get that ready. And let's work on the same technique that we did last time. So find a comfortable seat with a straight spine. And while we're meditating, imagine that you're cupping your heart in your hand. And on each exhale, you're breathing warmth and love and tenderness and gentleness into your heart, as if you're blowing on your hands on a chilly winter day. So on the inhales, let's breathe in love from the universe around us, because love is all around us all the time. We just can't feel it because our hearts get closed off. So let's visualize that we're breathing in love from all around us on the inhale. And then as we exhale, breathe that love, breathe that warmth into our hearts. Okay, so if you have music, hit play right now. And this is a little bit longer song. Many of you will recognize it. It's the Shanti Peace Out song from MC Yogi. So we'll come back together in about 6 minutes. And as you're ready, gently come back to the body. So meditating on the heart is a great way to cultivate santosha, great way to feel satisfied, feel content with whatever you're doing. So whenever if you're struggling in any moments, remember you can always come back to your heart. You can always feel that love within you anytime you need it. Great. Well, we're at 6 o'clock now. So if anyone has to take off, feel free. If anyone wants to stick around and share how that meditation was like, feel free now. And I muted everyone again, so you'll need to unmute yourself.
That was great. Thanks. I felt a lot of discontent that I had to overcome. Just sore from sitting, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I just had to keep telling myself it was all good.
Yeah. Well, you can always, you can sit in a more comfortable position too.
Yeah. I was fidgeting, but I was not upset with myself for fidgeting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Cool. Great. Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock, so I think we can wrap things up now. So thank you all for joining me again. Good to see you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. It's
Yes.
lovely.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you guys
Yeah.
for attending.
Appreciate it. So good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Take
It's
care.
a beautiful time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
Take care
time.
and have a good weekend, and yeah, stay content.
Exactly.
I don't know. I kind of heard that, California's going back to lockdown. So I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. So
Oh, yeah, here where I am in McKinleyville, they've closed all restaurants can no longer do inside
yeah.
anymore. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's locking down and cases are spiking. So, yeah,
So more good time to stay home and
exactly.
hang out.
Find
Yeah.
it in yourself. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, be content.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you, Hugo.
Yeah.
Good to see you all. Great seeing you. I love these times, and and each meditation gets along this hour gets better and better, and my soul gets happier and happier. So thank you, man.
Oh, thank you. You guys are making it happen. So thank you.
Yeah. And nice to meet you, David.
Yeah. Thanks for
Nice
joining.
to meet you. I hope.
Cover well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Quick recovery.
Take care.
Namaste.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.